Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome once again to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Thanks as always for watching. Got a lot of questions here from spring.me/AaronRift. So let's get started with the first one from Shiggy Diggy Bang. Hey Aaron, will Chris Masters ever return? I was upset when they released him the last time, given that he has a great look and he was really improving his ring work. Even CM Punk mentioned it to Laurinaitis in one of his promos after Chris's release. The problem with Chris Masters is that he came into WWE in 2005 and they gave him a huge push. The problem was that he was very green at the time and they ended up releasing him and they brought him back a few years later. He improved in the ring a lot, but by that point they didn't know what to do with him, and not only that, but he had been in that lower mid card for so long, I think WWE decided it just wasn't worth investing in him again, so they let him go a second time, which I think is really unfortunate. I think that Chris Masters perhaps could have been a bigger star. Maybe the timing was off with him. Perhaps if he had come into WWE when he had more experience, he would have had a longer run. As far as WWE bringing him back for a third time, I think the odds are against it. I mentioned in the previous video about the WWE Performance Center and how WWE is trying to stay away from bringing back past names, and instead they're focusing on the young talent and the guys that are at the Performance Center. So I think it's a long shot if WWE brings him back, but I would certainly like to see it. I saw him at an indie show about a year and a half ago, and he looked to be in great shape, and I think he could have done a lot more in WWE if he had come in at a different time, perhaps when he had more in-ring experience. All right, next question here. I know that you said Undertaker versus Lesnar is the best option for WrestleMania 30, but if that falls through, what about Taker versus Orton? Although it's happened before, they haven't faced each other in a while, and Orton is more experienced now in kayfabe. I actually think that would be a great idea. Let's say something went down with Brock Lesnar and he left the company again, and WWE doesn't want to do Undertaker and Cena. You have that option there, and I think that would be a tremendous match. I really liked the WrestleMania 21 match. I was there at Staples Center, and I think it's one of the most underrated Undertaker WrestleMania matches. I thought that match did a great job of telling the story that Undertaker might be defeated and his streak might be ended, and the crowd really bought into it. The crowd was convinced that Undertaker's streak was going to end at several points. So to me, that is a huge success right there if you can get the audience to believe that. And I didn't have that same feeling for other Undertaker matches like the one with Edge, and even with Batista, I wasn't really all that convinced that Batista would end the streak. And yeah, like you said, Randy Orton has a lot more experience now, not just in kayfabe, but in real life as well. I mean, he is a seasoned veteran now, and his character has evolved a lot since 2005. So I think it would be a good idea if you don't have Brock Lesnar available, and if you don't want to do John Cena versus Undertaker. That would certainly be a good possibility. All right, this one comes from Kyle. He asked me about the idea of Daniel Bryan facing Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 and having Bryan beat Undertaker to make himself the next WrestleMania, and then having Undertaker shake his hand. I've mentioned before the idea of Undertaker facing somebody who was going to be built as the future of the company, and maybe that person could be the one to end the streak. But in this case, with all due respect to Daniel Bryan, I don't think that he would be the most convincing person to go against Undertaker WrestleMania 30. And, not all of it is his fault. I mean, WWE has been booking Daniel Bryan as this underdog. And, I don't know if, it might work. I mean, Daniel Bryan is that over with the fans that, they still might believe that somehow he could beat The Undertaker. But, I don't know if WWE is ever going to do that match. And I would be shocked if they did do it and then Daniel Bryan actually beat The Undertaker. I mean, that would catch me completely off guard. So, I mean, I think it's very unlikely, first of all, that the match even happens, and second, that Bryan would beat Undertaker. But I guess you can say anything can happen. All right, this one comes from Zach Bedlam. Hey Aaron, how's this for WrestleMania 30 build-up? Undertaker comes back wanting payback on the Shield and systematically takes out Rollins at the Royal Rumble, Ambrose at Elimination Chamber, and then defends the streak at WrestleMania against Reigns. Well, as great as the Shield has been in the past year, I don't know if WWE would want to have that match at WrestleMania. I mean, Roman Reigns is definitely a guy that has a lot of potential in WWE. And going back to the previous question, if Roman Reigns was really going to be the future of WWE, it would certainly be an interesting idea to have Reigns challenge the streak and end it at WrestleMania. But really, I mean, I don't think the streak should end. And the only way I see it ending is if you have that guy that you know for sure is going to be carrying the company in the future. I don't know if Reigns is that guy. I mean, certainly he has some potential, but at this point, I think your best bet is to go with somebody who's already highly established to face Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, whether it be Brock Lesnar or John Cena or Randy Orton, as I mentioned earlier. All right, this one comes from Kayfabe Candy Ass. Got another question here from Mr. Candy Ass. Given Brock Lesnar's less than great win-loss record since coming back, do you see it possible that if he faces Undertaker at WrestleMania, he takes out current stars to build a win streak before facing Undertaker for the eventual loss? Well, in a perfect world, that would be the best way to go. Have Brock Lesnar take out several guys and build him up before losing to Undertaker. But as we all know, Brock Lesnar is working with a limited schedule in WWE. And in all likelihood, his next match will in fact be against Undertaker at WrestleMania. So, you can't really do that, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, if Brock Lesnar was around more often, certainly you would want to do something like that. I mean, if it was me, I wouldn't have had Brock Lesnar lose, period. Having him lose to Triple H at WrestleMania last year, I think, was a huge mistake. Some people will say that it was okay that Cena beat him, but I think you should have had Brock Lesnar go completely undefeated, knowing eventually he would challenge Undertaker's streak, and that match would mean all the more. But I still think Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker at WrestleMania will be a big deal if they end up doing it. All right, this one comes from Wrestling Do 95. Hey Aaron, huge fan of the show. Who do you think has the best drop kick in pro wrestling? I personally think it's AJ Styles, and do you agree? AJ's is really good. A lot of people don't like him, but I really enjoy Randy Orton's drop kick, and that's one of the moves he does that stands out to me besides the headlock and the RKO, of course, and the punt. Going way back as far as tag teams go, I really enjoyed the Rockers when they would do the double drop kick, and I really liked Mr. Perfect's drop kick when he would stand the guy up and grab his head and then deliver the drop kick. It was a perfect drop kick. So those would be my picks. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. This coming Friday is NoDQ.com's 15-year anniversary since I first started WWFWCW.com. I'm going to be doing a special video on Friday, which will also be the 1,000th video here on the NoDQ&CAW YouTube channel. So tell a friend, spread the word, let them know about NoDQ&A video. And with that being said, I will answer this last question before signing off. This one comes from HBK DTM. Hey Aaron, first time asker. We all know Vince McMahon's ideal superstar, but could you see Dolph Ziggler versus Cody Rhodes being the next Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart? These two can consistently steal the show and have the best match of the night. Let them shine. The problem with this, having Dolph Ziggler and Cody Rhodes be like the new Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, is it's a different era. When Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels finally broke out of the pack in '92, it was mostly due to the whole steroid scandal. Hulk Hogan disappeared from the scene. Ultimate Warrior was fired. Davey Boy Smith was also fired. A lot of the big guys that WWE pushed hard were gone. And that opened the door for guys like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels to come in and, reach the top of the mountain in WWE. Now in 2013, WWE first of all has a much larger roster, and there's a lot of guys, and there's only one company. I mean, back in 1992, you had WWF, you had WCW, you had all these other independent promotions. So there was a lot of different places you could go. Now everybody's trying to get into WWE, so there's a lot more competition amongst the wrestlers. And, it's going to be really hard for somebody like Dolph Ziggler and Cody Rhodes to break out of the pack and, be the match of the night guy. And WWE's not going to want them to go out there and have the match of the night if they're not the main eventers. And, when you have John Cena and Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan and CM Punk ahead of them, it's going to be hard for Dolph Ziggler and Cody Rhodes to get past a certain level. So, I mean, it is very difficult. It is a different era. But if something happens, if a series of events happens, and Ziggler and Rhodes are still around, never know, maybe.